On. Hi everybody, I'm Marcy McCarrow.
Hello, I'm Carol Cooper.
And we're here today with Nicky Davies, who's the CEO of WAVA Global.
Hi, it's great to be here with you, Marcia and Carol.
Fantastic. Can you give us your website address, Nicky?
Sure, so I have two. One which is for the leadership development programs that we deliver around the world, and that is wavaglobal.com. So it's W-A-V for Victor, A global.com. And then I have a personal website, which is nickyjdavis.com. So that's N-I-C-K-Y-J, and then Davis with an E, because I'm Welsh.com, which is really where I do the mentoring of business owners to help them reach the next level.
Fantastic, thank you. So Nicky, let's start into it. Was running a business what you always wanted to do? And what was your inspiration for starting WAVA?
The inspiration was frustration. So I, like you and Carol, was working for the National Health Service at the time. And I had a role which was about working on big change projects. And it was all about changing the way that services were delivered, often involving organisations outside of the National Health Service. And a couple of those really big projects stalled. And it was at that moment in time where I got frustrated and thought there's more to life than sitting around and kind of doing these little pieces of work that I was being allocated that really didn't inspire me in any way. Absolutely. So I had a conversation with my manager about being an external consultant, because really I was acting as an internal consultant. And so that's really where I started my business journey, which was in 2004, so a long time ago now. Yeah.
So were there many people telling you not to go into business when you introduced the idea of I'm going to set up on my own?
Yeah. There were a number of people that were like, Nicky, why would you leave a really well-paid job where you got, a nice car, all these different benefits? And because I had two roles. One of my roles was a national role. So I was going to these lovely 5-star hotels for these big events. And they were like, you're absolutely crazy to leave all of this security and take this huge risk starting out on your own. And particularly when nobody was pushing me to leave, there was no redundancy package. It was me just out of sheer frustration saying, okay, enough's enough, I'm leaving. And I can serve you in a much better way. So lots of people said to me, you're mad, you're crazy. Other people had the reaction of, I wish I was as brave and courageous as you, because I would really like to do something different than what I'm doing right now. And then there were others that were kind of raving fans that were like, yeah, go Nicky. So I had the full range, if you like, of reactions.
Fantastic. Nicky, who were the people who supported and helped you along this journey?
Oh gosh, well, all of them actually, from the critics that were like, I can't believe you're doing this, you are crazy, all the way to the people that were raving fans and that were really not surprised that I was going to set it up. I think what happens, certainly what I've found, and I don't know whether you found it too, but there's usually something that every single individual I've come into contact with over the years has said at one time or another that has just been an absolute golden nugget for me and has got me thinking about things in a different way. So I can really say hand on heart that what gives me inspiration, the people that have really inspired me, is probably everybody that I've met in lots of different ways, whether it's been something critical that I've been criticized, and it's kind of spurred me on to think, well, okay, you know, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
It makes me stop and think.
Mm.
But I've carried on because that's the kind of girl I am. And then there are other things that have been said. You know, I did an exercise just recently, going out to people that know me really well and clients, and asking them really for some feedback on how I come across. And one of the things that really surprised me is that a lot of them were saying your self-belief, your confidence in yourself. And I just don't think about it. So, you know, that kind of feedback really inspires me because it gets me to think. And I'm very much about growth and development.
Absolutely.
So those inspirational, well, those everyday things that people say to you, there's usually a golden nugget somewhere along the line that really gets you to stop and think about things in a different way.
So, Nicky, would there have been a role model working with you in this industry that inspired you along the way? Or are you saying, like you have done, everyone?
Yeah, well, I think it would be everyone. If I look back, and it's only looking back, isn't it? You know, I think Steve Jobs famously said at Stanford University that it's only looking back that you can join the dots and kind of make sense of it. You can't when you're looking forward. And so if I look back, my mum was a really great businesswoman. And she had to bring up my sister and myself on her own. I was 12 and my sister was 9 when our dad left. And he didn't give any financial support. So my mum really had to make a go of it and had 2 girls that she was looking after. And it's only looking back that I can see how much I've been inspired by my mum and the sorts of things that she did. And she was in a completely different industry. She, a very male-dominated industry, and we were in Southwest Wales, you know, surrounded by cows and sheep in fields. It was a very rural, idyllic setting. But she was working in a male-dominated industry. It was all about equipment hire. It was about car parts for cars that were going through services or MOTs. You know, not the sort of thing that you relate to training and coaching, leadership development at all. So I didn't follow my mum in terms of industry, but certainly I learned a lot from her. Almost by osmosis, I suppose, from how she handled different business experiences. So she was definitely an inspiration around business.
So from Nicky, from all these challenges that you've evidently had, which have been sometimes, I suppose, surmountable, how have you managed to overcome them all?
That's a great question. I never give up. So my mum would say I'm really stubborn, and I would say my mum is very stubborn too. I know where I got that from, and that stubbornness is a real persistence as well. And so I don't give up easily. And one of the books that I was referenced to a number of years ago was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he talked about opportunities arise, but they come disguised as defeat.
Yes.
And I've had many of those moments. We all have, haven't we, in business, where it just feels like the world's gone a bit crazy and suddenly your business is on its knees. What do I do now? And out of the blue, or so it appears, is a golden opportunity. And I was going to say I've been very lucky. And I think you make your own luck.
Absolutely.
And it's also, you know, a bigger source of energy and vibration that's kind of working with us as well. So there have been moments where I've really been on my knees in terms of my business and where it is. And in those moments, great opportunities have arisen. And I think, Carol, I think it's about being able to see the opportunity and say yes to it and be persistent, pursuing that. Because it's one of those opportunities took me from being in the Caribbean part of the year, being in Washington, DC with my husband part of the year, to suddenly, out of the blue, being working in the Middle East. And I've been working in the Middle East since 2011 now. And that one opportunity led to me doubling my revenue in my business, and then 5 times the revenue in my business when it fell apart and I had to pick things up again and soldier on, basically. So those challenges, those moments when I felt like I'm on my knees, there's always been an opportunity. And the trick is to be able to put away the way that you normally look at things and see the opportunity that's there. And that takes a lot when you're on your knees. It's really, it's a moment when it would be very easy to give up and walk away, but I'm not that kind of person. But being able to just kind of put the way that you think to one side and be able to look at it from a different viewpoint and see it for what it really is and do things differently it's really what keeps me going. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Reflection is such a powerful tool in any business, really, and you've mentioned that already today. What would you do differently if you had your time again?
You know, I that's a really hard question for me to answer, and I'll tell you why. I don't tend to dwell in the past. So I will reflect and learn, but it's much more about what am I doing right now that I can improve on? What is it that I'm not, or what is it that I'm resisting right now that I can improve on? So I don't tend to dwell in the past and think about, oh, I should have done this, or, oh, I should have done that. And I think, you know, when you start down that path of what would I do differently, it'd be very easy to be very judgmental about the decisions that you make. So I don't tend to do that. I very much focus on where I am right now and staying on the edge of my comfort zone. And that's a real challenge, because when things are going well, I think it's very easy to become complacent and become very comfortable with how things are. You know, why keep pushing yourself when things are going really, really well? When things are going terribly, you know, it's much easier to keep pushing yourself and staying on the edge of that comfort zone and challenging yourself. So the biggest challenge, I think, is being in the moment, not dwelling in the past, but being in the moment and really being clear about what your vision is that you're working towards, and let that pull you forward, but not become complacent when things are going well.
I like that, yeah.
No,
Not dwelling in the past. So you mentioned earlier, I know that you love reading, and you mentioned Think and Grow Rich. So is there a book that you're reading at the moment that you can share with us, and how has it had an impact on you?
Oh, you know,
or an article?
I usually have about 4 books on the go. So, and now because now because I travel so much, it's my Kindle. You know, they're all sitting there on my Kindle, so I kind of cycle through depending on how I'm feeling, or, you know, the topic that I really want to explore. But I listen to a lot of podcasts as well. And it really goes back to what I was saying earlier about that inspiration comes from many, many different places. So there isn't just one book, you know, there isn't one article that I can put my finger on, or one podcast. So let me give you an example. The other morning, I woke up really early in the morning, about 3:30 in the morning. And it was one of those mornings where I tossed and turned, and, you know, I just wasn't going to go back to sleep. It just wasn't going to happen. So I sat up, bolt upright in bed. Unfortunately, my husband wasn't around, so it was just me. Put the lights on and thought, okay, I think I'll listen to a podcast, given that I'm awake now. May as well do that before I get up at 6:30. So the podcast that I listened to was an interview with a woman called Cindy Gallup. And she has set up a company called Make Love, Not Porn. Now, I wouldn't normally listen to something like this. It was kind of like, make love, not porn. I'm not sure I really want to listen to this at 4 o'clock in the morning. But I felt compelled to listen to it. And one of the things that she said, one of the golden nuggets, was this, and I've written it down here so that I can share it with you. The fear of what other people will think is the single most paralyzing dynamic in business and in life. And I just sat there 4 o'clock in the morning thinking, wow, she's spot on. And so that led to another thought, which was, because I stay very much present in the now and what's going on now, I was asking myself the question, okay, where am I stopping myself now because I'm worried about what other people will think?
Yeah.
And it just took me on a completely different train of thought. So those golden nuggets come from being on a podcast or listening to a podcast at 4 o'clock in the morning, or a book, or a conversation with somebody, but they're all around us. And they're real gems because they get us thinking about things in a different way.
Oh.
And that one podcast and that one line then led me to sending out an email to my email list, you know, about this, and asking them, where are you stopping yourself because you're worried about what people are thinking?
Yeah.
And what would it look like if you just let that go? And the number of people that responded to that email with their own story was incredible. Absolutely incredible. So I love those golden nuggets. I look for those golden nuggets wherever I am. And they pop up in the most beautiful of ways, even at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock in the morning. You've got this amazing international platform. You're doing this work across all these different countries. Are there any difficulties that you find with doing that? And how do you keep yourself relevant when you're going from place to place?
Shall I tell you something? The hardest thing for me is actually packing shoes.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Right. Not what I was expecting, but
I love traveling. I love the whole getting on a plane, flying somewhere, you know, and being somewhere. Right now I'm in Doha in Qatar, and I'm in a gorgeous hotel right on seafront, and the view from the window is just spectacular. It's dark now, otherwise I would share it with you.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So I love the traveling, but you know, the biggest thing traveling, the biggest challenge is not the work, it's actually packing shoes. Because as a woman, as a woman, I need a pair of shoes that are suitable to train people, you know, so I'm on my feet all day.
Yes.
And you know, so they've got to be comfortable. But also, I'm particularly in the Middle East, women wear beautiful shoes, stiletto shoes. Healthcare organizations, women are wearing stilettos. Okay, now I worked in the National Health Service, and there were no managers, directors wearing stilettos. So there's a very high standard of shoes in the Middle East. And when you get to, well, they've got to be comfortable. Then I love to go walking, and exercising. So that's a pair of trainers. Then it's warm here, so flip-flops. And very quickly, you get up to about 5 pairs of shoes for a ridiculously short period of time, like 2 weeks. So the biggest challenge is packing shoes.
I love. Sorry, Nick, I just love that. I just love that.
Oh dear, that's so
Because
that wasn't where I thought the question was going to go, the response was going to go, but absolutely, I get it, I understand it, and other women will get that too.
So, Nicky, shoes aside, what have you discovered about yourself and your strengths that supported you during your journey?
Oh gosh. I guess I've learned in this past week that yes, I do believe in myself, and I do have a certain amount of self-confidence, and I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago, but I own it now. And I'm particularly getting that feedback from clients when they say to me, well, you know, if I had to put something at the top of the list, it's your self-belief, it's your confidence. And I guess the way that translates when I'm working with people, whether it's corporations or it's individual business owners, it's really about, I believe in you. So I really, really do believe in the people that I'm working with as clients. And if they haven't got the level of self-belief or confidence in themselves, I just kind of say, look, I believe in you. I have confidence in you. So if you have confidence in me and how I look at things and the sorts of decisions that I make, then just trust in my belief in you.
Absolutely.
That's great. Absolutely.
How would you define success, Nicky?
So for me, success is actually getting a great outcome for my client. That's really what fuels me, and that definitely fuels me, and I get emotional about it, just even thinking about it. So for me, seeing people be successful is hugely, hugely important to me, and obviously that impacts on me too, because if my clients are successful, then my business is successful. You know, that brings the money in, the revenue, and you know, life for me is all about growth. It's all about moving forward. It's not about standing still, because actually nothing stands still. If you think you're standing still, you're actually falling behind. It's all about moving forward. So success for me is moving forward. And it's not just me. It's almost like clients, you know, I'm waving my hands now, because clients are in front of me and my business sits behind my clients. So it's my clients moving forward and having success that really pulls my business forward and have success as well.
So you're an extremely busy lady. How do you find time to rest, relax, recuperate, and just regenerate your batteries?
You know, that almost sounds like the question that my mum keeps asking me right now, because I'm 52. And she says to me, when are you going to slow down? When are you going to start to think about retirement? And I'm like,
no!
Where did that come from? So there's a panic because, oh my gosh, am I really that old? Because I don't
52. No, we're not.
And for me, it's not about rest and relaxation. It's actually about what energizes me is what I do. And if ever that changed and I didn't find it energizing anymore, then I would probably need to look at work-life balance and, you know, all those silly concepts that we talk about, because it's meaningless when you're actually, and you know this, you and Carol know this for yourselves, it's meaningless when you're actually doing something that you love.
Yeah.
It powers you, you know, you find this energy to keep going and do all these things. And, you know, I sleep really well at night, mostly, apart from that one morning. Yeah. So for me, sleep, 8 hours sleep is just fantastic. It really charges my batteries. And I love taking time off as well and sailing. We have a sailboat, Freya, and we love sailing, you know, because you're on the water and you can just kind of switch off, and it takes your thoughts somewhere else completely. And often that's a very creative moment for me. So even when I'm on the boat and we're sailing and it's downtime, I'm often thinking about business because I love it. You know, it fuels me. So for me, you know, this whole concept of work-life balance, if anybody looked at my life, they'd say, geez, you know, you are out of whack completely. But it doesn't feel like that because it just energizes me. And if that changed, then I'd have to change something. But it works for me. It fuels me. Yeah.
Great. So, Nicky, what advice would you give to someone else now starting out in a business of their own?
Two things, really. One is make decisions quickly. And if you need to change that decision, do that slowly. So it's one of the things that holds people back is hesitating and not making a decision quickly enough. You know, whether it's an opportunity that comes up, and I you know, I've done it a couple of times in my past as well. So make decisions quickly. Yeah. But then stick to that path. You've got to see results, you know, whether it's bad results, good results, you're going to get feedback. And then you can start to course correct. But you want to do that slowly. You don't want to keep making changes and changing your decision, you know, because you're just like, I don't know, you're just like something in the wind. You're just, you know, swaying all over the place. You've got no sense of direction. Clients don't know
what you're doing either, so they can't tap into you if you're not moving around all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So make quick decisions, change your decision or course correct as you go along, but do that slowly. And the other thing would be get yourself a really good mentor, because you want a mentor that's been there and done it, or is a couple of steps ahead of you in terms of business, because they can show you some shortcuts. And those shortcuts are the things that will really propel you for success.
That's great. So, Nicky, what does the future hold for Nicky Davies and WAVA Global?
More.
Give me more. Gosh, sounds like Oliver.
So I think over the years, I've got clearer and clearer what leadership is all about. And there's so much out there in the leadership development field, which is, you know, oh, here's a magic bullet. You just need to do this, and then you'll be a fantastic leader. You know, there are so many models out there around situational leadership, authentic leadership, you know, emotional intelligence. You've got to build that in. And it leaves people very confused about, well, what do I do with all of this? And for me, I think it's like the onion. You know, those things are great. They're strategies, they're how-tos in a moment, given a situation. But it's peeling back the layers and get to that core of what you're about. Who are you?
Yeah.
Because there's an innate leadership that we all have. And whether we use that in our lives, our business, our work, or we use it in different ways in different places, but we all have that innate leadership. And so for me, I guess the learning over the years is, let's peel away these different layers. Let's really get to the fundamentals here and help people really connect with who they really are and come from that place. Because I know the self-belief and the confidence that people see I have is actually, I really believe in my intuition. I really believe in, this will sound really odd, oh maybe not, the little voice, not the critic, but the little voice that kind of says, have you thought about this? Or I think you need to do this. And the more I listen to that voice and being guided by that voice, the better things have turned out for me. And so I guess, you know, I would really want people to understand that they have that inside of them. And that innate leadership is really where I want to move more of what we do within WAVA. And what I do as a business mentor within Nicky J. Davies as well. And really help people connect much more fundamentally with that, rather than keep thinking about, well, how, focusing on the how, you know, because in healthcare we talk about symptoms and we talk about causes, and the how-tos are really the symptoms of leadership, if you like. The cause is something that's really innate in all of us. So for me, it's really about bringing people back to that and operating from that place.
Right, that's great. Thank you so much, Nicky. Is there any other further detail, you know, that if someone was looking to find you, apart from obviously on the internet, is there any other detail you could pass on, any other contact details or anything?
Well, I guess the websites are a really good start for people. So for corporates, for you know, medium-sized, large corporations that, or even individuals that are looking at leadership development, it would be to go to wavaglobal.com. So that's WAVA with a V. So WAVA global.com. And for business owners that are really looking for some mentoring to grow their business beyond where it currently is, that would really be under my personal website, which is nickyjdavis.com. And I also, one of the things that I've realized is, because I've worked with, continue to work with Fortune 500 companies and other organizations as well, I've learned a lot about how to work with corporates, how to win work from corporates. So I do a lot of work with business owners, you know, coaches and expert consultants that really would like to make more of that space, because you can make a real impact when you're working with thousands of employees, and that's the opportunity that you have with these really big companies. But I think often what happens is, you know, people look at a skyscraper and think, oh my gosh, it's impenetrable. How on earth do I get to work with this company? And I always look at these skyscrapers and just see them as layers upon layers of people, you know, often working in cubicles or really noisy open plan offices, having a really crap day. You know, that's how I look at it. And we're all human.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and I've learned over the years some how-tos, some strategies on what works to get your foot in the door. And then you can kind of work at that deeper level and really bring about a change and really make a difference.
Fantastic.
Oh, thanks,
well, Nicky, it's been absolutely brilliant, as always, talking to you. And I must say, you know, I've been the recipient of your mentoring process and understand all that enthusiasm. I'm just getting excited just talking to you again. You've got that infectious sort of like energy that infiltrates people, that, you know, makes you want to go out there and do, which is brilliant. But I'm taking away, and there's lots of things, I've been making notes as you've been talking. Things I'm taking away, messages that I've heard from you loud and clear. Be brave. Nothing in terms of your experience is lost. It can all be used.
Yes.
Take up those opportunities, and you take up the opportunities by keeping your eyes open. Be authentic and trust your intuition. Yeah. So for me, I said 3, but actually that's 5. 5 things. And there's more. And there's more. So thank you so much for giving up your time today. And we look forward to working with you and talking to you again in the future.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and great questions to ask as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicky.
Thank you, Nicky. Bye-bye.